Good afternoon and welcome to GovSchool. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Good afternoon. My name is Mark. I'm here with GovSchool in service of GovDirections. And this afternoon, we're going to talk about go and no go. How do we make that decision in government contracting? And specifically, one of those by qualifying the right bid, not just every bid, but the one that you really are going to have an opportunity at winning. And I think we advertise this as like in 5 minutes. So we're not going to spend all afternoon talking about this particular exercise. But I've been always a big believer in using what I refer to as indicators of success to to pursue an actual a contract opportunity that fits my business expertise. My name is Mark Knowles. I'm one of the founders of GovDirections and been in the sector for some 30 plus years. Our service has been in place for 28 years, but I've been contracting with governments. I have won over 400 government contracts in 36 states using this philosophy. And I want to share it with you because I think it helps you, and especially those who are just getting started. There was a long time ago now, back in 1997, I think is when I won my first contract outright, and I used this philosophy back then. So but we all start somewhere. I started it took me almost 7 months to not lock in my very first contract. So if you're trying, be persistent, and it hopefully it comes your way. The fastest way to win more contracts is really stop chasing the wrong ones. And I had to learn that, I think, the hard way. So I'm going to share with you some of that knowledge. First, why do you even need a go and no go process? Because there's a lot of opportunity. It's a $7 trillion marketplace. There's 5,000 new bids and proposals issued every single day. And so that can cause you to be chasing, the proverbial dog chasing the car. You can't just go up and chase everything. Um, it can take you 40 plus hours to write a quality proposal. We sped things up recently with AI, but it's still, if you do it right in that quality one, it takes time. And there's really six factors that I use in a smart go and no go situation. And I use a threshold. I say if 70% of my match is a no go rate, and you will find that that's most of the ones about 70% of the ones you don't really go after. Make sure I phrase that the right way. But you look at a lot of them, and when you first look at one, I always like to say, and I don't know if it's written down here, but when you see that the scope of work, it basically speaks to you, and that song should be staying playing in the back of your head. You're the one I wanted to find. And so if it is the one that you wanted to find, that's the first step, I think, the first measure. Then you step into it and really take a look at it and say, yeah, I know I wanted to find you, but does it really fit me? So first, know that it takes time to write a quality proposal. Chasing the wrong bids means you won't have the time to write the right ones. It stands in the way. A simple go and no go. I'm going to say this the whole time because I always do no go first. A simple go and no go checklist prevents falsely bad decisions. And that's important to recognize that, and to have that checklist in place will save you from making those bad decisions. Experienced contractors walk away from most opportunity they look at 60-70%. And saying no go is not a failure; it just means that you're being strategic. Now, I have a process where, and I use this with clients that I work with, but I have a folder. One is actively pursuing, and one is I've looked at it, but I decided not to pursue it. And I keep that folder there with the bids that I'm not pursuing because I need to know why I made that decision. That's just as important as when I lose, I think, a transaction. I need to understand why I lost, but also a part of the process, I need to understand which ones I decided not to pursue for some strategic reasons so I can be more efficient when I move forward to pursue a bid. There's six factors I talked about. First is Are you eligible? Do you meet all the mandatory requirements? Now, mandatory is different than preferred. Sometimes they say we'd like to have somebody with 5 years experience. That's a lot different. Someone say you've got to have, you must have, using that word must, 5 years. That's completely different. But if it says must have this certification, you don't have it, then you need to walk away. But eligibility, are you eligible to win the bid? Capacity, do you have those staff and resources available right now to provide the work? And if not, how would you actually meet that capacity? I don't or simply walk away from, first thing is if it's not eligible, well, then can't do it. But if capacity, if I can work on a solution to that, then I will try to do that. For example, so a lot of times I do compensation and classification work and they want a salary survey. I might farm that out, or they also want a benefit survey. I don't really like to do that part, but I've got folks in my um, in reserve who can assist me, and so that helps me with my capacity. Fit, does it align with your core competencies and experience? Fit is very important. We have the indicators of success model on your page, and you can use that to determine, really what does fit you. And I help structure that. It sounds sometimes a little bit corny, but it works. It's a system I've had in place for 27 years, frankly, and I use it for every single RFP that I look at. I have like 18 factors that I look to see how much of a fit is to me. It doesn't have to be 100%. But if it's 70%, then I'm going to pursue it. If it's 90%, I'm going to pursue it aggressively. If it's less than 70%, I'm probably going to walk away from it. It's just not cost effective for me to pursue that. Now, sometimes you're in an economic condition where you need to go out there and pursue it, then I do. Okay. And so you have to kind of you make exceptions to your own rules. Past performance. Do you have that relevant critical past performance, or can you explain it away if you need to? I may not have this particular may not have met it. But if I do this, whatever our rent, so pull it all together, then I make it work. So I have that value. Is the contract value worth the time to pursue it and the cost to pursue it? Is it the true cost benefit analysis? I work with clients routinely, and they're not even willing sometimes. Oh, no, I shouldn't say they're not willing, but they're looking at that benefit and say it's not worth spending $500-600 to get technical assistance with it. If it's not worth that, then really is it worth pursuing? And so you really have to think through that in a strong way, because most of these contracts that you're looking at, you should have margins in place where it brings in thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, frankly. And if not, then yeah, just step away. Relationship. Do you really have any existing relationship with the agency? Is it there? Is there something that you can call into common with that? And if it is there, then that strengthens your go decision. If it's not there, then you should probably step back and think, how can I have that? Now, it doesn't mean I have to have a handshake arrangement with someone. It just means that maybe I'm in the community, maybe I've done work in the area. There's some sort of, I've worked with cities and it's a city. There's some sort of relationship model that you can depend on. First, check your mandatory eligibility list. Read it before you start. It's usually the first part of a document. Sometimes it's outside the document in the introduction. It's a service disabled veteran owned small business set aside, for example. If you're not in that set aside, then you can't bid on it. Is there a minimum past performance dollar threshold you must meet? Are there bonding, insurance, clearance, or experience requirements? Just because it's there and you don't quite understand it doesn't mean you need to walk away from it. You need to gain that knowledge and understand it, and come to overcome. Choose a path to meet these sort of qualification requirements. If you fail any mandatory requirement, then you might as well stop right now and just move on and go to another one. There's plenty of opportunity, but I might keep a measurement of what that mandatory requirement was, and then see how I can go about fulfilling that. A pro tip there, create a mandatory requirements list for every RFP you open so that you know what to look for. Access your real capacity. Your capability statement should have been built by now, and you should watch that video if you haven't. Do you have the staff available in your organization, or the method or the process to win? Start next month. Are you ready to go? Readiness test. Can you really realistically meet the required performance start date? Can you meet the required finished date as well? That's another important one. I look at a RFP. Usually, I have about a 4-month window of of work requirements. If they want me to do it in 2 months, it's not that I can't do it. It's just it's going to cost them more of money because it's going to require me to spend more quick up front time. And if they can give me 6 months, then I can maybe give them a little break because I can carry that, let the work expand to fill the time available, for its completion. And so that's important to do that. Do you have the working capital to front cost before payment? That's sometimes a critical. I have clients routinely come in, they look at a bid and concerned about that 30-day, 60-day payment window, and you got to be able to fund it. And there's ways to do that, but you got to get prepared for it. You can do pre-funding, and government contract is almost like a gold certificate. So people will step in and help fund you, but you do have to have that capacity. Don't actually go out there not expecting to win, and then when you do win, it catches you off guard. That's not a good strategy. Just to test the market. I've had a couple of clients who actually have done that. And I'm like, I warned you that you would win this. My clients win contracts. And so when you do win it, if you got $100,000 working capital requirement and you don't have those funds, then you need to figure out a way to get those funds very quickly. Winning a contract you cannot perform damages your past performance rating. Do not forget that. The worst thing you can do is walk away from a win. So you got to fulfill it. A lot of different reasons. Evaluate your competition. Understand where your competition's at. Who else is likely to bid on this opportunity? That a lot of the times, these days the information is there. It's also on the active bid. But governments are predictable. They do these things over and over. So you can also look at what happened last time, a new bid. Is there an incumbent contractor who's also been performing? And what was the performance do? If they're doing a good job, or is there a reason why that government's going back out? Sometimes they have to go back out every 3-5 years, and they're still going to stay with the same contractor, but they have to do that per rule. And so if they're getting you can ask that question. That's probably the number one question I see asked on bids that are out there. Is this a small business set aside that limits competition? Because it is, and you're a small business, that helps you out, and you have a little bit more leeway there. If you have a relationship or you're the incumbent, that's always an advantage. Be aware that estimate your probability of a win, the P win. If it's below 20%, don't go for it. And if you don't know how to do that, you should learn how to do that. I have a class about that specifically, but every single bid that I write for a client, I'm doing a probability test first. And then I let them know what's their opportunity to win. And then what we do is try to get it pushed up to 60-70% before you submit. Now that's a big haul, but going into something, frankly, I've been doing this long enough that if I bid personally, I bid and I respond at a 75 percentile. I mean, I choose my projects very precisely in what I think I can win, and I usually win. Okay, so you got to I have a high degree of win, but know where that's at on every contract. Calculate the opportunity value. Estimate your contract value versus your cost of proposal preparation. And I can show, the emphasis of this grows as you start winning too. Just know that. Sometimes you may have to, eat that cost a little bit when you first start. But you should be moving fast on the fast track to where it's always a huge benefit to you, to a significant benefit to a win. Is it a single task order or a vehicle? I mean, like the IDIQ, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, vehicle with recurring work potential? Because it's recurring, then it certainly is you can come in at a very strong competitive price because it's there going to be solid work for 4 or 5 years. I have clients who sometimes understate that value. That's a huge value. You don't have to go back out to bid. It's there every year, and you should need to be doing a good job, and you got recurring work. Is there potential for follow-up on contracts or agency expansion? Keep that in mind. A lot of times there is. Every time I walk into a project, I probably shouldn't put this on a recording, but I start off with a classification study, and then I usually start talking to them about a staffing study. And so you constantly are, you're working your room, and it's important that you do that. And most agencies, when they get to know you, they like you, and then sometimes I just generally get a call back, and I'll go in there and do projects that don't have to be bid back out, and that's always helpful. And also remember that a $500,000 contract with a follow-on often beats a one-time $2 million project, just so you know. So you can get a lot more revenue, a lot more progress in terms of profit on those multi-year projects that are or follow-on projects. And make the decision and then document it. Everything you do should be documented. We have a go no go sheet for every client I work with. We keep every single RFP that we review. We give a score based on their indicators of success, and you should consider that. It'll save you lots of time and money, and then you will figure out why you made the decision. And you're able to really work with that as you grow and tie we've got a Google Docs link in your home a member homepage, and you can tie your data to that doc, and then you can tie your AI tools to that folder. Making so much sense these days. If you don't understand how to do that, get on our calendar. We can help get that set up for you. It's just a small fee to help that work for you, but it just makes everything so much easier and faster. And using things for analytical purposes, these AI tools is really the most cost effective part of them that I've found. If it's a go, always assign it to, if you're not going to write it yourself, okay, a proposal manager. We have that. We actually, in our system, we have assign a writer, and you can, it works. And even if you're going to do it yourself later on, just learning how to do it to begin with is the best investment you ever make. We have a unique market product called experiential learning, not designed to hold you, but designed to and capture you, but designed to teach you and help you expand. If it's a no-go decision, always note the reason. Review your no-go decisions after the fact, and so you can build a smarter filter whenever you're looking. And that pro tip there: make sure your pipeline tracker keeps your no-goes information, because that's probably some of the most valuable data that you actually have. Always, as I like to end these sessions with, the mistakes you want to try to avoid. First, starting to write a proposal before reading the full solicitation. I see people all day long, drop these bids and RFPs, and then tell, our friend Claude or our friend Chat to write me a response, and haven't even read the response proposal, and it just doesn't. It's not a wise thing. And 99% of the time you're going to end over there in the unresponsive trash can, and so you don't want to have that happen. So read the proposal, and not just the AI summary, but read it. It's your business, and it's actually a big part of your business usually. Bidding on every opportunity. Why? Scattered. I have people. I mean, Mark, I want to bid 50 bids this month. I'm like, what are you talking about? I love you, but I'm not going to be able to help you. Okay. Sorry, that's a bad strategy. You only have so much resources. It just doesn't make any sense. You'll have a low win rate. It's just a waste of time. Ignoring and then come and there's a lot of videos out there. I just would caution you, that to really say it's a numbers game. It's not a numbers game. It really is not. It's a match game, making sure that you have the highest percentage match to the actual RFP. Use some of those strategies I just talked about. Getting up to the 90% matches so much more predictable that you'll win than doing 90 responses. You can do 90 responses and get zero. Um, Ignoring the incumbent, that's to your own disadvantage. You should understand who they are, what their weaknesses are, do a SWOT analysis of some sort about them, but understanding competition. Because they always have an advantage, and you got to knock them off that advantage that that is still in order to really get a shot. Not hard to do, but you got to do it in a wise way. Okay. Maybe you should read that. You read the book The Art of War. I think it'll help you out with some of those requirements. Not verifying that you meet the small business size standards for those federal ones. You don't want to go in there and bid when you don't qualify. Underestimating the hours required to write. Thinking you got. I have clients that can bring me a bid, and we got a month to bid. Now it may look like we're not doing anything in the last couple of days, but we're doing things along the way. Okay? But give yourself enough time to write a quality proposal. Never document why you went. Never keeping the information about why you chose not to do something. You made a decision. That's institutional learning, and you want to understand where that's at. So always record that in the process. And so we told you quickly that we were going to do this today is somewhat of a faster way to make sure you understand how to make a go no go action a process. So we've got here this plan for you. First, I want you to go out and create a simple 6-factor checklist and use it every time you see a bid. Now, as soon as you get used to the 6, go to 10. As soon as you get to 10, go to 16. Okay. The more information, the more data that you use, the smarter the decision will be. I have about 17. You can stop there, I think. Okay. And that's taken a long time to get to that point. And sometimes I would just put on your no-go list, make sure you put some life work balance on there. I've been doing this for a while. When I first started on my list, it basically was anything. Okay. I needed to feed my family. But now, I've been doing this for 30 years and I've worked on some 400 contracts. I want to rest a little bit. And so when I go on a location, one of the checklists is a near efficient stream. Okay. And if it's near efficient stream, I think that's my 70. Then, because I want to be on site, on location, usually about a week, and I want to have some downtime. And I always try to do something that's rewarding, and that would help me out. Or at least a good fly fishing store downtown. That's always good. Okay, always check mandatory eligibility requirements first before reading anything else. Because if you don't meet the mandatory, and you know what, if you don't meet them, you can ask questions usually. Do the Q&A and say, are you sure this is mandatory? This is why I think it maybe shouldn't be. And see if we can get them to move off those cues, the question, on the requirements. And sometimes they will. Estimate your probability of win in every single bid. And do it not just when you first look at it, but do it when you actually, an hour before you submit a proposal. Okay. Keep running that estimate. It should increase. Document every decision in a bid pipeline tracker. If you don't have a tracker, build a tracker. They got all these tools these days to help you, but I used to do it the old-fashioned way. And in the mathematical, I used to do a calculation every single time I did this. And people thought it was crazy, I think. But now it's done electronically. You can do it in the Excel spreadsheet and keep that, get your 10, start with your 6, get you to 10, go to 17, weight it if you need to. The more sophisticated your tracker is, the more likely you're going to win. Say no go more often in the first year. I'll just repeat that. Don't go after everything the first year. Be selective. But you want to be rewarded. You don't want to just fly off 50 proposals and then get 50 no's. Okay. You'll get a lot of no's to begin with. Just so you know that. And just the fact I did until I hit the right one. And then the next one came easier. The next one after that came even more easier. This kind of builds on itself, but it rewards persistence. Contractors, your win rate will go up. And so there we are. And I'll just remind you, our daily alerts are out there. Make sure you register for one. That's the best way to learn about new bids. And then we are, of course, in all 50 states, plus Canada and Mexico now. There's no paywall on federal bid opportunities at our site. It's a free tier. And so you can start there if you need to. But most of us, state and local, that's where we add the most value. And you can find pricing started around $34, I think it is now, and use that, that code, get started, and I think it'll drop it in half. But it really is a good way to get started. And then just remember, on July 1st, we celebrate our 28th anniversary. Over 1 billion bid alerts have been delivered to our clients in a consistent way. So make sure you sign up for free at GovDirections. And if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, and a lot of you are, just reach down there and subscribe. And it'll notify you when it doesn't cost anything to subscribe, but it'll notify you when there's a new GovSchool class. And if you have time to hit the like button, you like this session, it does really help. And it sends a signal to other contractors that you have found something that's helpful to them as well. And you can share, comment in those sections. I do try to check them every so often. But if you do have a real question, just reach out to us at our contact us feature at govdirections.com. And you will find a receptive audience. So thank you and have a good afternoon.